Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Help with Natalie Cuomo. I am beyond excited today for today's guest. He is an actor, a stand-up comedian, and he is also a peanut butter and hot sauce producer and connoisseur and purveyor of fine foods. TJ Miller.
And the peanut butter is prepared.
What's up, TJ?
How are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm
having a full conversation with you.
I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm excited.
I've spent the last little while immersing myself in TJ Miller.
Really?
That sounded weird though.
I wonder how fun that is.
It is fun.
It's fun at all.
Honestly, you know what I was thinking about a lot, because I feel like you're kind of open about dealing with like mental struggles sometimes.
Yeah, your style is so amazing.
Thank you.
Everybody's always.
And
we all talk about it.
And I deal with it a lot, and I try to deal with it, and I try to, like, in my act, I'll be like, oh, I want to talk about my struggles kind of, but they're not that funny, so I try to make them funny. But what you do is like you just like give people the laughter. Like, I'm like, you don't really address necessarily this like darkness underneath it. You're just like giving people so much laughter.
That's always, I think, that's always kind of the question. It's like, are they there to see an autobiographical version of your stand-up comedy, or are they there just to laugh? And so, you know, sometimes I was watching Dan Soder recently, who I think is so funny, and he's a Colorado guy also. But I was watching a clip of his from his half-hour special, and he kind of starts to talk about having a single mother, like he was raised by a single parent. And he said, don't worry, I'm not going to get all one-man showy on you. I'm not going to put up a spotlight and sit down on a stool. And that is kind of the issue. It's like, it's not a one-man show. They're there to laugh. They're not there. They did not come and say, well, let's hear his struggles. And if it happens to be funny, okay. But let's make sure that we really know that she's going through some hard times and she's getting through it. So it is difficult to decide. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll run through it really quickly. So I'll say like, well, I had an AVM hemorrhage in 2010. I had brain surgery. They removed a golf ball sized piece of my right frontal lobe, and so I'm sort of prone to mania. It's like bipolar, except without the depression. It is an intractable depression, so I can't really understand when I see it. And then I'll go into the next thing. So it's like I'll sort of lay that on everybody really quickly, and then see sort of what and then see if they usually they think that's funny, maybe not, but it's always got to be a conduit to the laughter. So I always say, and I remember when Trump won, I thought, okay, well, maybe I can talk about politics a little bit, and immediately it was like, no. People you could just tell were
they don't want to hear it at this time.
We're not here to hear what you have to say. And especially me, I think that was interesting too, was like, They did not come to hear what I had to think about. I feel like in some ways you're either a Dave Chappelle or a Louis C.K., even maybe a Bill Burr sort of in between there. Yeah. I think people want me to be a Louis C.K., so they're more interested in me talking about the human condition and happiness and stuff like that than they want to hear how I feel about politics or social issues or something like that. And that's much more Dave Chappelle. Of course, I'm not within either of those scopes. I'm just saying between types of comedians, it's sort of that,
I was really feeling inspired by it, because I think I try a little too hard to try to put me in by like bringing my darkness into it instead of just like giving the laughter. And I feel like you have jokes that kind of like hint at this existentialism you experience that don't that like you're one about like it was funny because I saw you do it at the stand, and then I saw it on your special, and I was like, cool. But the one about the hand dryer, and you're like, am I really there?
Yeah.
I love that, because you're like, those are kind of like when you hear someone say that and you're someone that has like, any depressive or existential thoughts, you're like, okay, he's with me.
Yeah. And it's sort of the joke of that is that everybody kind of has those feelings, but it's hidden in a joke. Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that one, because I don't even really think of that as a philosophical joke, but it kind of is. And then the other three jokes are also of those bathroom humor. The first one is so that people think about me when they wash their hands. So that's really funny because I say, you're supposed to sing happy birthday whenever you wash your hands. And I do it every single time. I sing it out loud. But whenever somebody walks in and I'm in a public restroom, it just looks like I'm having a really sad birthday. And so that makes me laugh that way. And then the one about washing your armpits 14 times under each arm to get them hygienically clean. Then people say that they think about me when they wash their armpits. So it's funny. And I like try and remember to do that because in some way it's a weird, like, I want to stick with you after you've seen my stand-up show. But often I forget because I like improvising so much.
Yeah.
And then there's a weird thing within that where I do feel like it's important to craft jokes, but because my real strength is riffing and sort of crowd work, but also just improvising, that is a very philosophical sort of position because I'm saying I want this to be right now, right here. This has nothing to do with the past. It's not about me preparing for something for the future. I just want us all to have this night, and then it goes away forever.
Yeah.
Because there's never going to be another show like it because I didn't interact with this guy in the front, and that girl didn't yell something out in the middle of this thing. And I get a lot of opportunities to riff off of the audience because people yell shit during my shows so much. And I don't know if I just look like a guy that you can yell at, or maybe because of the films I've been in and how quick I am with insults and stuff, they think, well, I'm going to yell something out. And then sometimes people yell out like movies that I've been in or stuff like that. And that's interesting because you can't be like, shut up, because they're being nice. They're clearly fans, but they're also interrupting the show.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to walk that line. But for the most part, if I could just riff and not really worry about material that much, just kind of do what I do, which is, I thought of something, I build it out, and then but not constantly be working towards the next hour, then that's what I would do. But it's weird. And it's like now that everybody's releasing crowd work clips, it doesn't look as special. But when I do it, it's a little bit different, I like to think. You know?
Yeah, and it's more special with the context of the entire show, too.
Yeah, exactly.
What I really loved, were two things. Well, more than two things. So many things.
3.
Maybe 4.
Okay.
Okay. One thing I really like that stood out to me is I noticed it on Mashup Audio File.
Nice. You really did do your research.
Yes, I did. And you say, you kind of, is it true that someone made fun of your laugh?
That someone has?
Yeah.
Not many people make fun of my laugh to my face, but I do have a very recognizable laugh.
Yeah. I really.
It's not great. It's like,
I feel like the joke that you make telling people why you shouldn't make fun of someone's laugh.
Yeah.
It's definitely spoken to more people than you even realize.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think women.
Do people make fun of your laugh?
My laugh's been made fun of. A lot of women, they cover their mouth when they laugh.
Especially Japanese women. No, but that's true. And you know what? I do. Well, you obviously saw this. But I do another thing that's I put it in my pocket. I'll put litter in my pocket and I'll wait to throw it away. Have you ever seen that meme with the two girls like whispering to each other and then there's the guy and they're like, he puts the litter in his pocket until he gets to a trash can and then he throws it away.
So nice.
So funny. No, and I talk about this a lot actually, but I talk about people who snort when they laugh and it's almost always women. And I don't know why that is, but I think it's also if guys snort when they laugh, people are more likely to make fun of women than they are of men.
Yeah.
And so this thing about snorting when you laugh, and then I go on to say why it's the best type of laughter, those little things are aimed at kind of telling people don't make fun of women. Don't, like, I think it's in my HBO special, and I still talk about this, how... well, the joke is about taking a picture and how women will take a picture and then they'll be like, let me see. And they'll be like, no, take another one. My arm looks fat. And I'm like, your arm looks fat? I'm like, let's leave the arm out of it. You're objectified for every part of your body all throughout media and popular culture. and you have to become either, you have to become a mother and have a career, because if you only have a career, you're a lonely career woman. If you only are a mother, then you're just a lonely housewife. So if you can't be successful at both, then you're a failure at everything. So let's just take it down a notch and not worry about the way that your arms look, because no guy has ever looked at a girl and be like, she fine as hell, except for the Michelin Man arms. Look like a couple of turkey legs swinging from her shoulders.
They might have said that.
They don't. I know for a fact that no men have ever looked at a woman's arm and been like, eesh. So I find that women sort of, because they've been criticized so much, and by one another.
Yes, I was going to say that it's women that say that about each other.
I think that's right. And I think that they've been criticized so much, they've been taught to receive criticism without kind of not fighting back, but not responding. And then other women will criticize one another, that they're just kind of used to it to a level where they start to become much more self-critical than they should be.
Yeah.
A certain amount of self-criticism is important, I think, especially for men, because if you don't do that, then you're like totally oblivious to what's around you. It's definitely something I should be doing more of, is criticizing myself. But I think that for me, it's like, it just needs to be toned down. So sometimes when I like being in a room and sort of being behind women in that way, and I actually should pair more of that with what I'm doing right now, because right now I was doing really funny stuff about being a maybe Jew, because my mother is adopted, so we don't know if I'm Jewish.
Oh.
So I had a bunch of jokes about that, but then the Israeli-Palestine war happened, so I had to stop doing those. And then I started doing jokes about entitled white women, but that was then made their way to like sort of, it's like I sort of make fun of them, but then I kind of lift them up and say like, look how hard it is with this whole Karen thing.
Yeah.
What about the sweet Karens? What about the nice Karens?
Yeah.
Not the ones that are yelling at the supervisor at Walmart. Not
your
screaming.
ex-wife, Karen.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. Not the one screaming at the barista because you got her name spelled wrong.
Right.
So I do those jokes, but I was in Syracuse and I was doing those jokes and they just weren't really working. And after the show, one of the guys working with me, he goes, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tough mall that we're working in. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, they had like 3 shootings last week. And I was like, what? And they're like, and he goes, yeah, and the wife of the coach of the basketball team, the Syracuse Oranges or whatever they're called, she got robbed at gunpoint by a 12-year-old black kid. And I was like, oh, that's why they don't think it's funny that I'm making fun of white people, because they're like, we came to a dangerous mall to see you, TJ. So shut the fuck up about the fact that. So there's like, you kind of have to balance that thing. And I talk about my wife, Kate, a lot in my act, but I talk about how she's sort of so brilliant and so beautiful and magnificent. That's how I describe my wife. And when I do that, I can feel the women, and I make a joke about how hard different women clap, because some people are like, oh, that's so sweet. Other people are like, I've got a guy who does that. And some people are like, did you hear what he said? That's one way to describe, kind of like get your shit together and start describing me as magnificent. But I think it's really important to kind of like, I had this, first of all, the media, as you or anybody knows, that it's clickbait. You can't trust what they say. They'll twist anything. They'll lie if it makes sense for them. But one of the things that made me so upset was I was doing an interview somewhere, and I said that I think that there are less female stand-up comedians because a great sense of humor in a woman is sort of suppressed since they were young. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because essentially American culture, especially, but other cultures for sure, but American culture, I think there are Middle Eastern cultures where if a girl says something funny, they hit her with a stick or something. But in the United States, what they'll do is they sort of say, don't be funnier than the boys. Mm-hmm. Don't be funnier than a guy. Don't go on a date and be funnier than the guy. Yeah. Because then he'll be intimidated. Also, sense of humor is a sign of intelligence. So a lot of times they tell women, don't be too smart.
Yeah.
Don't act too smart. Don't be with the one cracking the jokes in the classroom. That's not appropriate. That's for the boys to do, right?
I agree.
And so I said, I think that's why there are less female comedians. And the media took that, and the headline was, TJ Miller doesn't think women are funny.
No.
Isn't that crazy? Because, in my opinion, that theory, which I've thought a lot about, is not only true, but it's really important for people to kind of understand. I would love for everybody to hear that, so that parents especially, but girls too, would go, yeah, you're right. We're not really encouraging sort of how funny she is. So let's like tell her that was really funny, you know? Or a girl kind of has a guy who's like, she's always making jokes and making fun of me. I don't like. Well, then that's not the guy for you.
Right.
Then don't date guys like that, because they're intimidated by you, and you shouldn't suppress yourself to build somebody else up.
Yeah.
It should be the reverse. You should build yourself up, and the other person should sort of meet you at that level, I think. And so, you know, but you see this, it's like there's more and more female comedians all the time, and I love it. I love it. But the proportion of male comedians to female comedians remains sort of like 70%. I think 7 out of 10. Does that feel real? Or is it closer to 50-50, do you think?
I don't think it's 50-50. I mean, I will say online, it's still very much hell as a female comedian, because it's just the comments every day are just, every time anything goes viral, there's like one comment that's just like, women aren't funny, that has 3,000 likes. And you're like, God damn it.
I know. And that's so strange. But my comments are like, I don't know about 2/3 of them, but I get a lot of comments that are like, not funny. That's the worst, bro. Yeah. Terrible. So it's just, that's a way that so you either have to kind of say, all right, I'm not going to take these to heart. Totally. And you really can't respond to them.
No.
A lot of times
makes you feel worse.
Want to, but when you respond to them, they're like, oh my God, someone's looking at and you're encouraging them to make worse comments. Isn't that weird?
I agree.
So any kind of online anything is a nightmare, to be honest with you, in terms of, but I think it's so weird that people say, and where was I? I was doing the City Winery, and I forget who it was, but someone said, it was a female comic, and she got off stage, and we were like, that was really good. And she's like, I don't think they liked me. And we said, well, I thought it was pretty funny. And she's like, I don't know. I still I forget who it was, but I think she was mostly a podcaster. Like, didn't do a lot of stand-up.
Yeah.
But she said, I don't know. I still think there are people where you walk on stage and people are like, ugh, a girl comedian, like, get to the next one. And she said, and it's not just guys. She's like, I think there are women that are like, I don't want. It's like I went to Jimmy Buffett tailgate thing or something, or maybe it was for someone else. But we were pitching this movie to people, and that I'm working on with my buddy. And when we're talking about the part where the aliens meet the president of the United States,
I'm in.
This girl goes, "Thank you." This girl, it's a Christmas movie.
Even better.
So this girl goes, well, wait, can I stop you? And I go, and she's like, the president isn't a woman, is she? Or is it? And I was like, well, we hadn't really thought it. She's like, well, I don't want it to be a woman because I don't think women should be president. So she said, so if it's a woman, count me out. But if it's a man. And I had never heard a woman say that.
There's so much internalized misogyny. No one even realizes it. It's crazy.
But it was really interesting to hear her say that. And she didn't. I just think it was almost like being the president of the United States is a man's job, just like being a stay-at-home mother is a woman's job.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a stay-at-home dad because they're not as good at being a parent as a woman is. So it was just really interesting that she said that. And because I'm me, I wasn't like, ugh. I just was like, wow, that's fascinating that that's part of your belief system.
Right.
I don't want any tits in the White House. Keep them out of there. And so there's just so much of that. And that's why I love seeing more and more female comedians. And there's some, I mean, you're great. There's like Jordan Jensen is one of my favorite comics in the city right now. And there's Caitlin. I can never pronounce her last name. What?
Palufo?
Yeah.
She did my last episode.
Did she?
Yeah.
She's so funny. Her energy is crazy.
Yeah.
But she has a joke that I really don't like, which is about men pushing their not completely hard penis into a woman's vagina.
Oh.
And I think that hurt a lot of men's feelings because we're just doing the best we can. But she's really funny. And then there's just a ton of really Adrian.
Yeah.
Can't pronounce her last
Appalucci.
name. All these funny people have these difficult
I'll
to
pronounce the last names.
You know them all.
Yeah.
And she's so dark and so funny.
She is.
And so I think that there are just some spectacular female comedians. But yeah, I sort of hate that I'm saying female comedians.
Totally.
Because they're just comics.
Yeah.
But you need to distinguish that to be able to recognize the imbalance.
I agree.
And I really think that there are less female comics than there could be or should be, but certainly could be, because women from an early age are just told, like, don't be funny.
Yeah.
That's not your job. That's for the boys.
Yeah.
And so I don't like that. I think it's changing a lot. And I think this coming time will be, I think it's on its way to being 50-50.
Right.
But I think so many girls also are just told, like, better to be shy than to be boisterous.
Yeah.
And kind of out there. And so, I mean, just from looking at you, people can understand that you're pretty outspoken and you've got a big personality and big charisma. But, there are a lot of women that are kind of feel like, I don't know if I could really go up there and do that. Whereas there are too many guys, they're like, I could be a stand-up comedian. Dude, everybody says I'm so funny at the office. They're like, you should do stand-up. I'm like, I don't have time for that.
I know.
And you're like, you couldn't do stand-up.
One thing I really love is how much like energy you bring to all of your performances. Like, is there something I know this sounds weird, but I'm really curious. Like, is there something you say to yourself before you get on stage? Like, do you have...
That's so weird that you asked me that. No one's ever asked me that. And yes, there is. I don't say it as much anymore.
Yeah.
But for a long time before I would go and do a spot on late night or something like that, right before I would sort of go on, I would like take sort of breath and say, this is what you do. This is what you're good at. And then I would sort of say that. And that helped me kind of say, like, there's nothing you do better than this. This is what you do. This is what you are as a comedian. So just go up there and trust that.
Yeah.
But I think less that and more, I mean, I'm really lucky I can improvise as well as I can, because I actually have a problem where I don't prepare enough.
Really?
So, and I'm really trying hard now to make the last hour before I go to the stand-up club only about the set. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard. I get distracted. I'll be doing emails or writing or working on just almost like
what would making that hour
stuff
only about the set look like? Because like
I have no idea. I've never done it. No, I mean, I'll tell you what I could hypothesize it is, because I sort of go, yeah, I'll kind of say, all right, I'm going to get ready for this thing, and then something will happen, or I'll call Kate. And it just makes you very lazy, because I know that if I have no idea what I'm doing, if I only can remember 2 or 3 jokes or something, I can still riff an hour easily.
Right.
So I can just go on stage with nothing and do an entire 45 minutes or 50 minutes.
When did you find that skill?
Well, I started improvising before I started doing stand-up.
With Second City?
Yes, but even before that, I was improvising in high school. We had this really fascinating, brilliant drama teacher at the public high school that I went to that was mostly black and Latino. So whites were in the minority there, which was pretty fun.
Where was this?
In Denver, Colorado, but like inside the city. And it was like metal detectors when you came through the doors in the morning, zero policy for guns, zero tolerance. I always thought that was so funny. We have a zero tolerance policy, as if it would be okay if they're like, all right, 2 guns. 3rd gun, you're out of here. That's it. So I kind of happened upon this incredible fortune of, at that school, there was a drama teacher, and she had us improvise. We had a little improv group. This is all kind of unheard of. And then the first time I did stand-up comedy was in her class. She taught stand-up for 1 semester. That was the thing that you worked on sophomore year, which is even crazier, because you're not even old enough. I mean, you're still a little uncomfortable in high school. And so we all had to memorize 5 minutes of another comedian's set. And I chose Seinfeld, which I thought was really weird, but I had his book. And then you had to write 5 minutes of your own material and perform it in front of the class. And she said, when she was explaining this, she said, now, don't worry. This isn't, none of you are going to do this for a living. I mean, maybe TJ, but
Really?
this is more about understanding this type of performance art. And I just, when she said that, I was like, what? I had never considered, I had only considered, because I was acting in high school, maybe becoming an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of a stand-up comedian was, and then there was one other kid that did drama, and he always said he wanted to be a stand-up comedian, but I didn't really follow through. And he was really funny. But so the first time I thought of the idea of being a stand-up comedian was in that class. And then in college, I didn't do any stand-up. I didn't do any open mics or anything like that. But I was in an improv comedy group that did sketch, improv, and videos. And we rehearsed Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m. to midnight every week. So that's a lot of improvising. And so I really had probably, I mean, not joking, thousands of improvising hours under my belt before I really went to Chicago and tried to do stand-up. And then when I was in Chicago, as you just mentioned, I also did Second City. But that was improv and sketch.
Yeah.
So there was an improv set, but a lot of it was acting and singing. They had singing stuff. And I met my wife I was in a chorus line.
I love a chorus line.
It's the best. It's the best musical. And it is.
Are you not acknowledging that that's the best song?
What?
Tits and ass.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said it's an S.
Oh, I said tits and ass.
I was like, I guess Natalie says that when something's really great, it's an S. Like it's a superior something.
Do you think about all the times people have misunderstood something you said and they just think that about you now?
Yeah, or they just kind of are like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, it's tits and ass are great, but I like One Singular Sensation.
That's fun.
But I did.
That's a good one.
Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. I was always running. So I played the black character.
Wow, that's not progressive.
Sort of. I mean, there weren't enough black people that auditioned. And so I was just supposed to be a kid who kind of wanted what we would call back then a wigger, which would be a white guy that wanted to be black. That is not a term that I think is ever used anymore.
No, it's not.
And if you say that incorrectly, it's much worse than that's an S.
Yeah.
But tits and ass is great. And my wife she was the ballerina, Maggie.
Oh, that's a good song
and
too.
So she did that up the steep and narrow stairway. But I was never a singer. I didn't want to do musical theater. I did not want to do any dramatic theater at all. I just kind of wanted to do comedy. So if it was comedy acting, if it was comedy voiceover, if it was improv comedy, stand-up comedy, that just was the whole deal. But as I progressed, I realized that stand-up is really the best of all of those things because you're your own boss.
When did you, loved you in Silicon Valley.
Thank you.
Yes. I think that was my first exposure to you.
Wow.
And then.
Exposure makes it sound like I'm radiation.
Really?
Go ahead.
What do you, I'm sure people ask this dumb question. Like, do you like acting or stand up better?
There are no dumb questions, only stupid things people say. Go ahead. What?
Do you like acting or stand up better?
I think stand up because you're sort of your own boss. You know, you're in charge of when you perform, how much you perform, whatever. And when you're acting, you're an employee and they expect you to get up and at 5 a.m. and be on set at 7 and here are your lines. And the only reason I have fun acting is because I can improvise.
Yeah.
And when people hire me, they go, okay, he's, we're hiring an actor, but he's also going to be a writer in some ways.
That's fun.
Yeah. So that was really, really good. But yeah, Silicon Valley got me a lot of, in Silicon Valley got me like a lot of other jobs. That's how I got Deadpool and Transformers. And I mean, I did those auditions, but it's, it was, and that's an example of something that was so fun for so long. And then it suddenly got not fun.
Yeah.
And I think that always has to do with when something becomes super successful like it did, people get really famous and then things get really weird.
That makes sense.
And that's what happened from Deadpool 1 to Deadpool 2 was you first had Ryan Reynolds, who wasn't like, everybody knew who he was, but he had never had he'd had a lot of movies that were failures or just didn't do that well.
Yeah.
And so Deadpool was a real long shot for him, and it took him 10 years to get that movie made. And then he did it, and it was the highest grossing R-rated film of all time or something. And then so Deadpool 2, he was a different person. That's just a different guy. A guy that's become that famous in a movie that is that funny. It just kind of changes people, you know? And I don't think it really changed me at all, because I was always sort of a nihilist and always kind of, you know, didn't give a fuck. That's how I got jobs. Was if you go into a place and you don't give a fuck whether you get the job or not, which was always the case for me because I still had stand-up. So no audition. My livelihood did not hinge on any of the auditions that I did.
Right.
So I would go in with a really I don't give a fuck attitude. And when you do that in Hollywood, they're like, whoa, he knows something we don't, you know, or this guy's a star. Something is going on here. But if you don't give a fuck for a while, they love it. But after a while, they're like, he doesn't appreciate what's going on, or it's not fair that he doesn't give a fuck and we all do. Just like I think you have to live in Los Angeles for a bunch of reasons, not as much anymore, but for a bunch of reasons if you want to be an actor. And one of them is no one thinks it's fair that you don't have to live in Los Angeles. It's this terrible city. And so I think people kind of all say, well, if you want to join our club, then you have to be miserable in traffic. Yeah, exactly.
What's interesting to me is, wow, I had a thought and it's just evaporated.
That's
yes,
okay.
not caring. This is what I struggle with so much with stand-up. Like every
Really?
time there's like an audition or an important show, like no show is important. Like, you know, you've been doing stand-up for so long. Like, I'm sure every time you thought something was important, it wasn't. Like, that's my experience.
Well,
I can't adopt I don't give a fuck like, I'll be like, I don't give a fuck about this. And then it's like, I deeply give a fuck. I can't not give a fuck. I care so much. Like,
and you care so much about each set.
It's not each set. It's like if I'm auditioning for like a showcase
So
or
it's
like
auditions,
it
no,
kills
if you
me.
really, really care about it, you're not going to get it.
I know. But I can't.
How long have you been doing stand-up?
6 years.
So that's not long at all.
I know.
And I know it feels like it's long, and you'll meet people who've been
But I
doing
care
it for
so
2 years.
much.
But
when will I stop?
Probably right after this podcast. After you've tried my peanut butter, you will
okay,
not
let's
care
try the
anymore.
peanut butter.
But I think you're right. You've got something there, which is you do need to kind of get in the headspace that's like, it's not the end of the world. This isn't the most important thing. And you do a lot of spots, right?
Yes.
You get up a lot?
I don't care when I'm doing a spot. I'm like, I'm fully myself. I don't give a fuck. And then it's like, when I know there's consequences, such as it's like a showcase, all of a sudden I'm like not the same person.
Yeah, the best I've done in New York City is I did a spot at the Comic Strip Live, and I just fucking destroyed. It was crazy. It was so crazy. And it ended up that Richie Tinkin was in the audience.
It was a surprise.
And I didn't know that.
Yes.
And so then I got passed, and that was the first place I got passed. And then the other time that I didn't give a fuck is Chris Rock went up at the Comedy Cellar, and either me or Daniel Simonson had to follow him. And Simonson was like, please don't make me do this.
He's so funny.
He's the funniest. And he would have killed. But I was like, yeah, if there's anyone that has to go up after Chris Rock, it has to be me. And so I went on stage and I sort of wore these glasses, and I just like made fun of the fact that I was me having to go up after Chris Rock. Like it's the guy from Yogi Bear 3D right after the biggest comedian in the world. I remember I fucked up. I thought he was in Paw Patrol, but he wasn't or something. So I kept making that joke, and people were like, is he serious? Is he making a joke about this? Does he really think that that's the case? And I just didn't give a fuck. And I didn't know. But Esty, the booker, and Noam, who's the owner of it, they were both there. And they saw me.
They loved it.
And I destroyed. And so that was when Noam was like, you're welcome on our stage whenever you want, forever. But it's exactly what you're saying. You just didn't know. So what I think you have to do is you have to say, and I don't know this because I've never really given a fuck. There's some things that I've given a fuck about.
Why don't you have a fuck?
I think in part because I had this brain surgery thing. And they said you have a 10% fatality rate, so 1 out of 10 people die for this surgery. And I was like, well, will I still be funny? And they're like, what? I'm like, after you take the part of my brain out, am I right? Will I still be funny? Because that's sort of how I make a living. It's what I do. It's my passion. And the guy goes, I mean, I guess, because he was like, if you don't get it, you're going to die in your mid-30s. And I was like, well, yeah, but if I'm not funny, then I might as well check out at 35 or something. And he said, I guess you'll still be funny. I mean, you're not using that part of your brain. It's malformed and has been since you were a kid. And I kind of went, okay, let's roll the dice, you know? And so going into a situation where they're giving you drugs and you're like, I might die. This might be a thing where they go out to my parents and say, he didn't make it through the surgery. Kind of makes you think all of this is sort of bonus. And it kind of makes you think about, like, this really can end at any point. And people say that you get hit by a bus tomorrow, but I really understand that. But I think also it's like, I don't take any of this seriously, you know? I mean, I think the worst thing that's happened to me is, as I've gotten older, having to think about money and making money and how do you maximize the amount of money because that really gets in the way of the comedy, I think, or at least takes away from it, you know? But I think you'll stop giving a fuck when you've done enough of these showcases.
Yeah.
That you're kind of like, okay, another one of these. A lot of people say they stop giving a fuck after they've been rejected enough times.
Yeah.
So there's sort of that too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing you're going to give a fuck about.
Peanut butter.
And that is the peanut butter. And Autumn, you're going to come in here and have some too. So we have 3 flavors. Oh, no. Yes. Okay, so that's cherry chocolate with real dried cherries. There you go. And honey roasted peanuts and milk chocolates. But get a cherry.
I'm getting a real. I need a cherry.
Yeah, you gotta get a cherry.
I got in trouble last night for eating all the cookie dough out of the ice cream. So this time I'm
here
allowed.
you go. Who got you in trouble?
My fiance. He said you ate all the cookie dough out of the ice cream. I told you not to eat all the cookie dough out of the ice cream.
Who stole the cookie dough out of the cookie dough jar? There it is. All right, let's see it.
Oh, the cherries are.
Adds to it. What do you think?
Decadent.
It is. That's exactly right. Now, do you like dark chocolate coconut?
Mm-hmm.
Get into it.
Okay.
This is the one I always make a joke. I go, these are the 3 flavors, dark chocolate coconut. That's for the ladies. Because that seems to be popular with the ladies. This is like peanut butter and jelly almost.
Wow.
But better, the cherry chocolate.
I like the cherry chocolate. I see why you just have it straight.
Yeah, what are you going to put it on? I think putting it on Triscuits is really good, but what do you don't need it.
I would like a banana on the side.
I think that's an accompaniment. A sidecar of a banana makes all the sense in the world.
Also coconut peanut butter.
That one's for the ladies. Because it's, my wife loves nothing more than coconut kefir and dark chocolate. Like, she loves it. I mean, I
always thought it was kefir.
What?
I always thought it was kefir.
Kefir?
I'm wrong.
Maybe we're wrong. So you like that one. Now, this is the real question. Do you like toffee?
I love peanut butter. So now, is this dog safe or too good for dogs?
I mean, the dogs are going to love it. It depends on if you believe that thing where dogs can't have chocolate. So this is my favorite.
Are you out of your mind?
Christie.
If you gave my dog chocolate, I don't know.
What kind of dog do you have?
Perfect.
A perfect dog?
He's a mutt.
Okay.
He's like a little black best friend.
That's great.
That came out wrong.
Do you have one dog?
Yeah.
Do you have any cats?
No.
See, we don't have a dog. We have 2
cats.
cats. And I didn't like cats. But then once you have them, because Kate really likes cats.
I love dogs.
And then once you have a cat, you're like, you drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Oh, this is
because you don't have to pick up their shit.
Toffee crispy.
That's the one I like. That's the undisputed king. And I think part of it is we don't eat very much toffee.
But
all people love to. But when's the last time you've had toffee?
I don't know.
Exactly. And Score bars aren't very popular. And it's a very Christmas thing. But people just don't eat toffee. So and toffee with peanut butter, I had never thought of it. The thing that I wanted to do with Be Happy, which are the peanut butter people that I work with, I wanted to do chocolate, honey, and banana peanut butter. Amazing, right?
Very lovely.
But you can't do, see, now you're going to get into it. You cannot, I want you to bring all these home and they're just empty. And you're like, TJ wanted me to give this to you guys. Yeah, to your fiance and your dog, to you guys. So I said, that's what I want to do. That's my dream. And they were like, yeah, the bananas don't work. And I was like, what do you mean? And they go, well, they oxidize. And then they get sort of, I saw it too. So then I said, now wait a second. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
mine is the one that had
yours
mess
the
on
one
the
that
side.
looks like somebody ejaculated all over
does.
it, to be honest
Then
with
I
you.
honestly am concerned. But
you know, you got to live your life. Just wash it down with some peanut butter. So I wanted that. I said, well, what about banana chips? Right? So
Are you?
Dried bananas, right? Dried banana chips.
I like the toffee one.
So then it's the best. So then I brought that up and they go, we tried that. And I go, you tried it? So why don't you do it? And this is so interesting. The guy goes, when's the last time you had banana chips?
I have
like
them.
dried bananas.
They're good.
And I said, well, it's been a little while. He goes, do they really taste like bananas?
No.
And then I was like, fuck. Because I thought, okay, well, maybe if they're in the peanut butter, it'll soften them up. But it's true. They don't. And then have you ever had that chocolate banana? They really pushed them for a second. I forget the name of it, but it was like banana bites that were covered in chocolate.
Yes, I have.
And those weren't that good.
But you know what's good? Banana jam.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It is good. It is good.
How does one procure that?
I don't know.
Wow, Banana Jam. That's
Yeah,
also a
it's
great
rare.
fucking name for the band that you and I are
Banana
starting.
jam.
Do you play? These are amazing. They're available on Amazon.com, and they're so good. And then we have the hot sauce.
We're gonna
Maybe
try
we
them
end
too.
with this.
Okay.
We end with that. Did you play an instrument growing up? Were you like a band chick?
I tried to play the guitar and the piano and the trumpet.
And no go on all three?
Best at guitar, but still shaky. What about you?
Kate took a guitar lesson in college. It was like she just needed a credit to she just needed like one more credit. So she took guitar, and at the end of the semester, the teacher, probably a guy that wanted to sleep with her, but it was a guy. And he goes like this. He's like, I don't think you should play guitar.
No.
Isn't that crazy? And she's like, oh, he's like, it's just not your instrument. So maybe there's something else. It's not terrible. So she tried to play guitar. I played the saxophone growing up, but I played the alto sax, and I kind of quit after 6 years, but I could really play. And what I should have played was the tenor saxophone. The thing I don't like about the saxophone is you have to prepare it by wetting the reed and putting it all together. So I always wanted to do the trumpet, or more likely, and I have one, a trombone.
The thing I don't like about those instruments is the spit valve that comes out and it just like droops everything out. That's just a lot.
It is.
But they
you
sound
don't
good.
strike me as a girl that's like grossed out.
I'm
by
not
many
grossed
things.
out by those things. I just, I don't
Or
know.
grossed out by them.
I'm not grossed out by them. It's just in public you have to deal with it, and it just like sometimes I'll feel like other people are.
They're like, ugh, go in the bathroom
They're like-
to use your spit valve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
How long have you been engaged?
A little over a year.
Wow. And is he a comic or no?
He is a comic.
Wow. Who is that?
You know Dan Lamort?
I think I've definitely heard the name.
Yeah.
And so has he been doing stand-up around the same amount of time as you?
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
like a year or two longer.
Wow. And did you guys meet doing a show?
Yeah, we met at the Stand.
Wow. Are you going to have your wedding there?
No.
Where are you guys going to get married?
Upstate New York.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
yeah. Normal. No, yeah. it's
Where upstate though? Hopefully not
Um,
Syracuse.
good. No, like near like an hour upstate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so like Croton on Hudson or something. Like
Yes, it's near like Newburgh
that.
but not.
My buddy lives there. Okay, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
When's the wedding?
in July.
That's so cool for you to invite me because I'm going to give you free peanut butter.
Oh, I'd love for the peanut butter favors,
hot sauce as well.
Hot sauce would be
Why
great.
not?
I
Yeah.
mean, we'd love to have you there.
Let's do it. I'm
Yes,
into it.
yes.
Kate and I'll get her.
Oh, yes.
Well, we're going to get tattoos.
Oh my
just
God.
to prepare for it.
Oh, we have
I love your tattoos here. I think those are really, really cool.
I love tattoos.
I think it's interesting. Do you? Does she? You're so funny.
I do love that.
Did you do the tattoos to be rebellious?
It's so I don't know. I just I think I have a little bit of an addictive personality.
Yeah.
So I actually
Are you sober or do you drink or do you smoke
I don't
weed?
drink alcohol. I smoke weed though.
I've drank so much for so long, and it just gets kind of. I luckily am at a point now where I'm just like, I'd rather kind of do a bitters and soda. I don't drink beer,
Yeah.
which is a problem because if you drink hard alcohol, that can kind of run away from you faster. But I really think high noon is funny. I don't love seltzers, but I love this idea of like spiked fruit juice, sort of. So I kind of have been having fun.
You have some
drinking
good
that.
alcohol jokes. I liked your White Claw joke about the
Totally.
mango one. That was good.
Yeah, and that's another joke about women kind of rolling their eyes at other women.
Yes.
And how annoying women are annoying to men and women.
Yes.
But it's just it's a very strange thing and a very strange time right now. But that's awesome that you're getting married and also that you did such a good partner thing. It's funny. I think my wife a lot has wanted to be like, I want to encourage you not to drink. So, I don't feel good drinking around you. But a friend of hers once told me, she was like, well, TJ, I think she like wants you to keep it all on lock.
What's that
and like
mean?
just not get out of control with drinking. And she's like, but she doesn't want you to be sober at all. And I thought that was really interesting but I understand it because like last night we got shit faced at this restaurant. She drinks wine really is the thing that she drinks. And so I think that's all good. It's just like.
That's literally the only time I'm like watching a movie. I look at like someone drinking wine romantically, like alone thinking. I'm like, oh, that looks nice.
It is nice. And for a lady, I think it's like, how about a bubble bath? And a glass of Pinot Noir,
exactly.
right?
You're like, okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't, and the other thing is when you travel, the alcohol everywhere is free. And it's free for me at the stand.
Yeah.
Do you get free drinks at the stand?
Yeah,
Or do all comics?
I did before. Comics usually will get one free drink, and then it depends on like how often you work there.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And how long have you worked at the stand?
Probably like two years.
Really?
Yeah.
And did you audition for Patrick and go through the whole thing, or they just love you and so they said, come on in?
No, I had a show there for about a year, and then afterwards I got a random email from Patrick that was like, "You worked hard enough. Like your show always sells out for a year. I think like you're past." I was like, I just opened the email. I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's so awesome.
I was so happy.
Yeah, that's so.
And
great.
they're literally, I have them to thank for everything. I mean, they believed in me for literally everything. I love them so much.
And that's how I felt because I only did a couple of spots because I didn't live in New York City at the old club, which was a great club. It's just there was nowhere to stand. And then they gave me Rockwood Music Hall, the Frantic show, that free show on Monday nights, which I'm doing tonight. And I thought it was really interesting because then when they opened the new place, just those brothers were so quick to be like, I love you. And I think they understand more of the, I don't know. I think they're just cool guys who kind of understand the bullshit that is the media and just also kind of say, if you're a good person, then we want you working here. If you're funny and you're a good person, we want you working here. Yeah. But that's the best club in the city. I think the Comedy Cellar is awesome, and I love the Comic Strip Live. Mm-hmm. But the stand as an entirety, because Comic Strip Live has popcorn, and that's it. And maybe nachos or something like that. And the stand has a full menu, all these delicious things. So you could bring someone there for a date. You can sit down. It's a nice place to come bring somebody. Upstairs is a very hard room, but if you know what you're doing, you can kind of make it work.
Yeah.
Downstairs when it's full is amazing. Downstairs when it's not completely full is still amazing. So I love that club. And I think sort of what you're saying is true. It's like they're also the most encouraging of all of the clubs, and they have 4 shows a night.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of comics that they're, that are working there. But I've been so lucky. I have a friend who works for The Daily Show and is one of the best, maybe the best writer for The Daily Show, and he can't get in anywhere.
Yeah.
They won't. So there's a lot of comedians who,
it's tough.
Don't, and I don't really notice that because I'm sort of passed everywhere.
Yeah.
And, but it is really tough. Like, are you past any other clubs?
Like Stand Up New York. And that's pretty much where I work. Yeah, Stand Up New York in the stand. Then maybe I'll do like produce shows at other venues.
Yeah. Are there any shows in Jersey City? That you do like, do you get up in Jersey at all? I guess is what I'm asking.
I guess there's like some bar shows, but usually I'll like go on the road on the weekends, and then I'll just do spots at the stand or bar shows.
What do you do on the road? Are you touring with somebody? Do you go and do your own shows where you headline?
Yeah, I either headline or Dan and I do this thing where like we each do time and then we go up together at the end.
Oh, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And then what would be a venue that you would do that in?
Like we were at the House of Comedy yesterday.
Oh, cool.
This weekend. Yeah.
Which one? The one in Mall of America?
New West. In
Jersey?
In Vancouver.
Canada. Oh yeah, of course. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that family, the Bronsons.
Yeah, you were on
really
the
well.
yes, I love Tammy.
Yeah,
and
she's
then
awesome.
yeah, we were there last year too, and then Thursday I'm going to the Plano one.
Oh, great. Okay,
yeah.
So you play some of the almost like the Heliums or the Norwest rooms. That's great. Yeah, that's so cool.
So it's been fun, and I really like being on stage for longer because I feel like I like find my voice more. Like I appreciate the city spots that are shorter, but I feel like I can really like explore my voice when I'm up there.
Oh, of course,
for longer.
And you have to be able to headline. I think the minimum that you can do to like really still be like, I think you need 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
At the very least to really understand what it's like to kind of be up there and actually doing your thing.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I can understand that a lot. Can I ask you something, and you can cut it out of the podcast if you want to,
Sure.
but how hard is it to be a Cuomo?
To be a Cuomo?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not related.
Yeah, but is that a thing where people are like, hey, wait a second, are you know what I mean, in New York City?
Yeah, honestly, not really that hard. I have like my only viral tweet about it, about not being related to the Cuomo family. It's not that hard. Occasionally people will tag me and stuff, but I'll be like, I mean, I'm just very obviously not related at all.
Do you talk about it on stage?
I have one joke about not being related to the Cuomo family. It did make the side that's not Cuomo like that. It's like the joke is basically like, I'm not related. My uncle sexually harassed some people, but he was never in office.
That's funny. Yeah, because I always wondered like if it like helped get people to the shows, sort of, or anything like that.
No, I always am like, look at the way I dress. I'm obviously not related. Like I would have so much more money.
But I think people might be like, oh, she's the black sheep type of thing.
I don't know. I have no family.
Yeah, really?
I have like my parents and.
How do you get along with them?
I'm pretty close. I'm really close with my mom. They're divorced. And then my dad I'm close with, but my mom I'm super close with.
That's cool. And did she like your fiance?
Yes, she likes him a lot.
Really?
He's the first person I've been with that she likes. So it's very exciting for her.
So you're like, let's tie the knot. Let's get
like,
hitched.
I never thought she would like anyone I was with.
Really? That's so interesting. What did she think about all your tattoos?
She does not like them.
No.
How
many times do people ask you how many do you have? Is it once
point,
a week?
They don't ask me anymore. I don't know how many I have because I don't know like what counts as one. Like if I took my hand, I'm like, what counts as one tattoo?
Well, each of these.
Each dot? Or like
no, of course not. But each like that's a tattoo, that's a tattoo, that's a tattoo, that's a tattoo.
Because to me, I'm like, I got the whole hand at once, so that's one.
That's interesting. What does all this mean?
It means
nothing. That's funny.
That one's a smiley.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just.
Did you give yourself any of these?
I've given myself some,
really,
but not these ones.
Wow. Yeah, they're really good. Have they all been done by one person?
No, I mean, I worked at this coffee shop for a long time next to a tattoo shop. So, and I was managing the coffee shop. So every person I trained, I'd be like, we give the tattoo artist free coffee.
Yeah.
And I'd give all the tattoo artists free coffee so that after work, I'd like go next door and get free tattoos.
Wow. Yeah, they're really good. Do you consider, okay, and I also wanted to know, why don't you, I like that you don't have anything on the elbow. So many people do those spider webs or those things. I'm sorry to talk about the tattoos, but you kind of ask for it.
I ask.
You know what I mean? Like not everybody does, but you like, you're all in.
I am all in. I always feel like I want to be the most tattooed person in the room.
Would you ever get a face tattoo?
No, I would get a neck tattoo if it wouldn't upset everyone around me, which it would. So originally I felt like I'm getting tattoos because I don't want people to like me. But then I feel like
that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. See there, she just covered her mouth.
No, because I just sometimes you feel like so unaccepted. You're like, you don't want to accept me? Well, fine. I don't want you to accept me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Feel like it's kind of like it's like an external expression of feeling not accepted.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have never thought about that. Yeah, I mean, you are the most tattooed comedian probably, right?
Let's keep it that way. No, I'm kidding.
No, but really, can you think of another?
I think maybe there's this guy Shane Smith has some face tattoos.
Oh, yeah. But I mean in New York.
New York, yeah. No, I don't know.
Yeah, he's I would get and I've done this with henna. But I would get two little teardrop things, but they aren't teardrops. One would be an insignia that is my sort of comedy thing. It's a jester's eye. Yeah. And the other one would be K8.
Now, can I?
For my wife.
That's cute.
I really like, I did them before in henna and I really liked them. But she's like, once you do that, it's just
too much.
That's it.
It does feel like, did you have a moment where you decided to tattoo your face? But let me ask you this before we try the hot sauces. You could also not answer it. What do you think happens when you die?
Wow, get right into it.
I'm so sorry. I just had to ask you. I didn't want you to leave without me asking you. It's just like you talk about such existential stuff, talk about positive nihilism.
And what happened? Are we going to tarot it?
We're going to tarot. We're going to hot sauce. I just have to ask you because, it's something that I struggle with on a daily basis. I just want a quick dollop of TJ knowledge. You also could say pass.
No. I have no problem talking about anything, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think nothing.
Okay.
But as I've gotten older, I've been more interested in the idea of like multiverses, which I think is interesting. And Rick and Morty is so funny about that.
Yeah.
And then also just not knowing. So I definitely don't believe that you go to heaven or something.
Yeah.
But I do think it's quite possible that's why I think it's interesting. The idea of past lives is so silly to me.
Yeah.
It has been for so long. But if time is sort of infinite, and Nietzsche, who's a philosopher.
I know who Nietzsche is.
No, but.
Yes. Okay.
I wasn't explaining to you.
Yes.
Okay. If you'll let me finish instead of interrupting me like men do all the time.
Okay.
Nietzsche, who is a philosopher that I subscribe to and study, and I consider myself almost an apostle of.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
He talks about the eternal recurrence.
Yes.
Which is almost sort of a karma type of, but it's almost a multiverse thing where it's like, if time goes on forever, then everything is going to happen again. And it's going to happen a little bit differently. That's the idea of multiverses. And it's also going to happen again the same way. And so he's sort of saying, you've already done this millennia ago, but this is the time that you're doing it now. And so you've got to do it the best you can and work the hardest and go against the most obstacles that you can. So that is interesting to me, that like, instead of thinking, is there life after death? There was a life like this before birth, and there will be a life like this after death. Now, will you remember it or connect to it or whatever? Maybe. But if we talk about this right now and it's true, then we are connecting to that idea. And so many, many millennia forward, this all will happen again, and we'll be podcasting, but I'll be sitting where you are and you'll be sitting where I am. And instead of the spiderweb tattoo, you'll have two of those tattoos. And those will be the only things that are different about that reality. And I think if time is truly infinite, then there's no reason to think that that's not the case. But more than anything, I've sort of gone into death and I've died in some ways. And it's really not that scary. The thing that I always think is funny, and I'll tell you this joke, but the thing that I always think is funny is we complain so much about life. Yeah. But then we so desperately don't want to leave it. Yeah. I think that's really interesting. So my best joke that I've ever written about death, or really anything philosophic, is I say, sometimes sleep is the best part of your day. You have this whole day, it can be fun, whatever, but when your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, you're just like, oh my God. I say there's only one thing better than that. And that's when you're just about to go to sleep and you go, oh my God, I don't have to work tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow. Tomorrow's President's Day or whatever. And you remember it and you're like, oh my God. And I was like, that's what death is.
Mm-hmm.
Death is the longest, best sleep where you don't have to work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. Is like we are always focused on what's bad about death, but there are so many upsides. Mm. I mean, there really is. You're just not thinking of it because you're afraid of it.
Yeah.
But if you sort of spend time not being afraid of it,
mm-hmm.
then you can see the positives. If you really have a problem with it or we think about death, you should read Cicero and you should read Seneca. And both those guys talk about how a lot of your responsibility in life is to prepare for death and to come to understand death as not something to be feared or whatever. And then Epicurus, I think, was the one that said, why should I fear death when death is, I am not, and when I am, death is not. So we never cross paths. Mm. That's really interesting, too, if you think about it like that.
Okay, that's fair.
Like when you're dead, you won't be worried about it or have thought about life. Mm. And while you're alive, death has nothing to do with your reality.
Okay, that's fair.
So that's, that's
some
the
good,
best I can do for you.
That's good food for thought.
But I think Seneca is going to be your guy, a Roman philosopher who I'm a big fan of.
Okay, I'll take that.
He was in Nero's court. But you already know all that.
No, I don't.
See? You got to watch it.
No, I only know the Eternal Return. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks. All right. So,
how do you feel about death? What do you what do you think happens?
I don't know. I just really don't know. And I think I just have, a lot of anxiety about the unknown. I think the unknown, it just, it scares me, I think.
Really?
Yeah. And I think I'm so focused on my career all the time. I feel so immersed in like, how can I be the best comic? How can I work towards this goal? Or like, how can I plan my wedding? And then sometimes I just forget to like enjoy my life and forget, and I'll be like overcome with this feeling like this is my only life, like, and I feel just overwhelmed by that.
That's really tough, and in America that's really tough because they sort of say like your progress in your career is the most important thing. But I find that I do a pretty good job, and it's maybe because of the stuff that we've talked about, but I find that I do a pretty good job of sort of enjoying things as they're happening. Like I was on the way back from Syracuse and I was on the train and I was able to really like stop and watch the landscape go by and say out loud to myself, like, this is really cool. You know, you're on a train. Or we like in between shows, we went to a trampoline park.
Wow.
And as that was happening, I was like, this is really amazing. And so I don't know if it has to do with sort of the brain surgery or the AVM or whatever, but I do a pretty good job of saying, so I have what's called intractable depression, which means you can't feel it or notice it or attach to it. So I always feel happy, even when I am depressed. Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
I never don't feel happy. And it's my father's the same way.
Do you like that?
I mean, I don't know any other way.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like that other people are like, I don't know, I've just been sad all day and I don't really connect to that.
You're like, have some peanut butter.
Yes, exactly. Or some hot sauce.
Yeah.
And so I kind of enjoy, I'm able to enjoy things real time. And I think that that's something you have to work at. I really do. And I think what I've been trying to do recently is there's this great Buddhist, my wife is a Buddhist, and there's this great Buddhist saying or idiom or aphorism or whatever. And it is, there are only 2 days that I can do nothing about, yesterday and tomorrow. And so I'm trying to get better at not being like, nothing's going to work out. Because I do have anxiety, and often it's mostly about money.
Yeah.
And that's just such a bummer. And so whenever I start to get into that headspace, it's not going to work out. This movie that I'm writing is never going to get made. I'm never going to make enough money. I'm losing steam with, my attendance, at clubs and stuff like that. I really have worked at being like, all right, stop. This is your life right now. You're doing everything you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm almost doing more than I should be doing. But it took a long time for me to get to that place. And especially because we had this kind of terrible interaction with this girl that Kate and I went to college with. And so the fallout from that really got me and her to be in a place of nightmares every single night, waking up and never knowing. And it's it's sort of a DEFCON 5 level stalker like thing.
Yeah.
And so for so long, we both just were like living in a constant state of dread. What's the next thing that's going to happen? What if this can happen? Then anybody can lie about it. It's like it really put us in a tough place for a long time. And thank God I've known Kate since college, because if she hadn't been there and known what was actually going on, I mean, that would be horrible.
Yeah.
What if I had just met somebody 3 years ago who were like, is this true? Like, what's going on? So even talking about it now, it's like PTSD. We went through a lot of therapy for that. That was also a really fucked up thing. But I think having to surmount that and get to the other side of that anxiety has helped me a lot now in my everyday life. Be like, look, it can't get worse than that, or it can't. And then we had this terrible therapist once. We didn't end up working with her, but we talked to her and she was like, I don't care about any of the stuff that you're saying. And I was like, this was globally traumatic. And she was like, it doesn't matter. And we were like, what? And she goes, I'm working with a couple right now that just lost their toddler. Their toddler died. And so there are worse things that can happen. And although we hated her brashness and the abrasive and caustic nature of her response, it has stuck with me to be like, even in the worst possible situations, there is something that can be worse. And I don't encourage people to think like that, but I do encourage people to try and find a perspective similar to that.
Yeah.
Not like, well, somebody always has it worse. Because that's the other thing I don't like, is I do believe, because ethically I'm utilitarian, which means that all happiness is the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So winning a Nobel Prize is no greater happiness than getting a bullseye playing darts. They're like exactly the same, but they're different. They're not this. They're just this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like if there's a way for you to get to happiness, then you should, but you also shouldn't be like, well, everybody has it worse, because on the flip side of that, everybody's problems are the same. Mm-hmm. So that like luxury problems, white people problems, it's like, yeah, those are still problems. Those still hurt your feelings. You can still feel sad. It doesn't mean that you should not be sad just because there's a Puerto Rican kid in, a ghetto who doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get out of there.
Right.
That's equally sad. That's equally difficult. Those problems are the same. And so on both sides of that coin, the happiness and the sort of depression or the sadness or whatever, that all to me feels the same as well. So I always say to people, like, don't get to a place where you go, well, why am I even bitching about this? Or you almost are critical of yourself for being so self-critical or sad. And that's just so unhelpful. You should always be self-soothing, never kind of self-flagellating, which I know you know what that is.
Yes.
Self-flagellation. It's the same as Nietzsche. It's the same as reading Nietzsche. Oh, yeah, and I'm excited about this.
Will you shuffle this deck?
All right.
Thank you for the insight.
Oh, I'm excited.
That
got really funny. This is a great comedy podcast.
No, listen, people always say that, but I also honestly, I'm looking to poke inside the brain.
Yeah, it is fun. And comedians are usually really smart, cool people.
They are. And can I ask you one more question? I always ask.
You can ask me as many questions.
Okay. So
I really like you. I've always liked you. I like seeing you on stage, and I think you're like a really bright, interesting person, and I like your energy.
Thank you.
I was psyched to do the podcast.
That means a lot to me, TJ. I feel the same way, and I'm so glad that you're here.
That's awesome.
Yes.
How many times should I shuffle?
Whatever feels right to you. By the way, your Dear Jonah special, I think might be the only time I really want to cry because I was touched during a
It was great, right? Some people say that they cry at the end of the special.
I was
think it's great. Everyone should check out Dear Jonah.
It is
the peanut
really
butter is
sweet.
great, but Dear Jonah, which is on my YouTube channel, and I have so many things on there.
It really surprised me because that's not why I was expecting it to be called Dear Jonah. And then when it was, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was going to call it the pandemic special and have that be a surprise.
No.
But a really brilliant
Still
guy
a
was like, you
surprise.
should call it Dear Jonah, kind of. And yeah, it is. It's great. And then I have the Spokane special where I riff an entire special about Spokane, Washington, which is really funny because if you don't live there, you wouldn't get any of the jokes, but it's still really funny. And then I have a crowd work special in Springfield, Illinois. And I'm going to release a special every single month, basically.
Wow, I love that. The other thing is
but
that
not an hour. I
Yeah.
don't think that these specials need to be an hour
This
anymore.
one was 45, right?
Yeah, 47. And then I have a one in San Francisco that's 27 minutes.
Yeah.
The other one's 36 minutes. I just don't think you need to do an hour
I agree.
anymore. I don't think anybody has time for it, really.
I love that you kept in the end because the comic in me really appreciated like the end when he's talking about your HBO Max.
Oh, isn't that amazing? That's like the best part.
Is being a comedian like to a T.
Yeah,
Where,
you've got
like-
this guy who's your biggest fan in the world, and you're like, well, what'd you think of my HBO special? You're like, I couldn't get through it. But that's the thing about Jonah. And what I
comedy
did.
and honesty.
Yeah, and I've got I interviewed him on stage the next time that I went to Nashville.
Aww.
So I have that video. I've got to figure out how to get that, but that should be online because he again was like so honest. But I found out that he's actually a math teacher and then he's really smart.
Yeah.
But he has, I don't think it's cerebral palsy, but it's something that's why he speaks like that.
Yeah.
But he said, I'm actually the smartest guy you know. And I'm a math teacher. I'm actually really smart. And I wanted to be like, that's not a normal thing. I'm like, if there's any developmental challenges, just one of them is that no one is like, I'm actually really smart. So that was really fun. But yeah.
That was really, really
Well, I'm glad
awesome.
you like that. Yeah, on my channel, I have a lot of really funny stuff. And yeah, I'm sure you're going to post the Instagram and all that stuff. But it's worth checking out
really
because
fun.
I have a lot of content. But that special I'm really, really proud of. And I have 2 more specials that I shot. I shot 3 specials in 1 year. 2 of them I shot 3 weeks apart.
Whoa.
One's called the Philosophy Circus, which is pretty great.
I didn't watch it yet, but
Yeah, but it's, and then the other one is called The Gentle Giant. So those ones aren't out yet, but they are forthcoming. And I think it's been good. I mean, I like doing a lot of content, but it's interesting now that everybody's putting specials out on YouTube. It's really hard to we're almost in this weird ecosystem where the only way that we can promote our stuff is to go on each other's podcasts.
I know.
Isn't that strange?
But I do feel, I mean, YouTube, I think that is where people want to watch the most.
No,
comedy.
absolutely. We all have to do it. It is YouTube now.
All right.
It's not Netflix. It's definitely not Amazon.
All right. Here we are.
Do you do a lot of tarot readings?
Every episode of my podcast.
Okay.
And this is like the 130th episode. You'd think I'd be better at reading cards. Because I don't know what this one means, to be honest. 7 of Cups.
Well, so far, so good.
It is so far so good. Cups are emotion. 7 is generally a good number. We've got the Sun. What is this? What feeling does this evoke in you?
That you don't really know what you're doing.
Oh my God. My fiance's dad, Dan, his dad listens to every episode. And he's been calling me lately like, you're getting better at the cards.
I love that.
I'm like, I am. But this one, I let him down.
No, what's your soon-to-be father-in-law's name?
Also Dan.
Double Dan's.
Danny.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the older Dan and the younger Dan. I'm sure you're doing A-okay. Older Dan, just remember, the 7 of Cups means your daughter-in-law doesn't have enough tattoos.
You know what's so cool about him? He got a tattoo.
Of the 7 of Cups?
No.
Oh.
This is not a good card.
When did he get a tattoo?
The older Dan?
Yeah. Or a younger Dan?
Older Dan.
Yeah.
We all went, like, the whole family. Me and Dan and Dan's dad all
So
got
your
tattoos
fiance
together.
also got one? And
Yes.
are they all the same tattoo?
No, but it was still really
What
fun.
did older
and his mom
Dan
came
get?
too. He got a sun with a lion's head in the middle.
I love that.
It was so cool.
And then what about your fiance? What did he get?
I got a bear. And I got a devil wearing a diaper.
It seems like you don't love your fiance's bear tattoo.
I like the bear tattoo. I do. I do like the bear tattoo.
Okay, that's fine.
It's a bear.
It doesn't seem like you don't like it.
It's not that I don't like it.
It's not a great tattoo.
No, it is a good
Well,
tattoo.
it's a very good tattoo. It's just you don't like it.
This card is not welcome, by the way.
Okay.
It's basically, oh, wow. It's kind of like, this is the House of Cards kind of card. Like, the House of Cards is going to fall kind of card.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We could pull some more.
Are you just supposed to do one?
I don't know. That's why I'm thinking I'm torn. In the past, I've really got to get my act together with this.
You just pull one card?
I pull one card sometimes, and sometimes I do 3.
You're definitely supposed to do more than one.
Okay, good. So
I
this
saw
is your
a wizard
past.
in Washington Square Park.
This is your past. So
okay.
This is your past. Was a House of Cards of Deception. So glad that's over. All right, your future. Oh, that's my favorite card, the Star. This is very you.
Okay.
The star kind of means like, it's kind of about like, when you look up the sky and you realize how small you are.
Yes.
It's like that's that kind of whole thing. We'll get more into it. And then strength is your future. So this was kind of wrong. This was saying like you're building, you got to make sure you're not building a foundation of your life on a house of cards, and you made sure you weren't. Then this is,
or this was kind of what I was doing,
oh,
and it was mostly movie star, actor, and that just wasn't the case. I was more self-generator, stand-up comic,
improviser,
improviser.
Yeah,
big thing on writer. And then means I'm insignificant.
No. This is okay. I'll read the card. Standing outside on a dark night.
This looks like older Dan's tattoo.
It is. The sun
older
and
Dan and I are going to go get a tattoo together.
He's so cool. Standing outside on a dark night, you gaze up at the stars and sense glimmers of wonder and hope. Even though you can't find concrete answers to life's many questions up there in the sky, you can't help but feel comforted and renewed. Such is the energy of the Star card. It's not about actions or situations. It's simply about connecting to the part of yourself that's hopeful and serene. This force will bring light back into your life and infuse you with positivity.
Perfect.
Isn't that good?
It's fantastic.
I love that card.
And
all right,
my future.
A strength. A lion's
infinite
strength.
Lion head he's got a rose in his mouth.
He's a mastery of emotions. It's not physical strength so much as emotional strength. He's patient, composed, and he's a master of self-control. Should I look up?
I think it's great.
It's common to think of this card as the roaring, devouring side of the lion, but look again, the strength this card suggests is much deeper than what's found within. The lion represents our patient, composed self. He's a master of focus, compassion, and self-control. When this card comes up, you're in need of harnessing this power for yourself. All the courage you need can be found in the muscle known as the heart. That's nice.
That's a really good
so
one. This is great.
What's
Thank
the story that you feel like is coming across for you?
Well, we talked about the cups, the House of Cups.
Yeah.
And I think the Star is sort of, being comforted and understanding. This is really a lot of the existential stuff that you and I were talking about during the podcast.
It's also my birthday card.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's why you liked it.
Well,
why don't you just be honest with people?
That's not why I liked it.
And then I do enjoy the strength, and I think the rose, my wife's nickname is Rose Petal Pistol.
Wow, did you give her that nickname?
I did.
Yeah,
I helped her find it. Yeah, but our company is called Glass Hammer, which is another thing that kind of has to do with her. But I love the infinite face tattoo, which means I have to get one now. There's plenty of places on this block. But yeah, it does require a lot of strength, what I'm about to do. And I think I was told, but this is really interesting because I was so sad for so long, but it was really interesting because everywhere I go, people are nice to me for the most part. Some people are mean, but in real life, when it's not online, people are really, really nice to me.
Yeah.
And so that gives me a lot of strength because I'm reminded pretty often of how I do meet and greets after the show. I sell peanut butter and hot sauce, but I love meeting people and hearing from them. And the best thing I ever hear is somebody will come and say, hey, I love the show, blah, blah. And they won't ask any questions about movies. They just go, Thank you for everything you do. I've had some really tough times and you've gotten me through them. So it's
nice.
like when you remember that, then you stop saying career.
Yeah.
And you start saying comedy.
But that's what laughter is about. And that's why I started the podcast. Like thinking about like how I feel like when you go on stage, like you prioritize the audience laughing. Like you bring high energy, you bring like your best attitude, and like you prioritize like their laughter.
Yeah.
Which I really admire.
In who, me?
Yeah.
No, I think it's the royal we, because everything that you just said applies to all comedians.
Yeah.
And as you were saying it, I thought you were talking about you.
That's nice.
It's very nice.
Thank you.
It's nice to podcast together.
Let's try some hot sauce. All right, I got to clean the spoon.
That's the second time we've done something at the exact same time. We also sighed really heavily.
I like that.
Earlier in the podcast. She's like, but before the hot sauce, a little more toffee.
I picked the toffee one again.
It's so good.
This is my favorite.
It is the best. And it's funny because I want some of it now, but I love you so much that I don't want to take any of your peanut butter. Some. No. And the other thing is I don't get high on my own supply. And I was vegan for 5 weeks as a joke. And so I couldn't eat any of my peanut butter.
It's not vegan?
No, because it's milk chocolate.
Is this one vegan?
No, they all got chocolate.
Autumn's a vegan.
What?
Autumn.
Autumn! Why didn't you bring that up? Vegans are supposed to talk about it immediately. Autumn, you should come in here and try the peanut butter at the end of the thing.
She's a vegan.
Oh, never mind.
You mean the hot sauce?
Yeah, you try the hot sauce. That's vegan.
All right, so hold on.
Being vegan was so
Can
funny.
we try them in order of spiciness?
Of course.
All right,
First
so help
off
me out
is Chipotle.
Okay, that's the less spicy.
The least spicy.
All right.
This I will try with you.
All right. I do like a lot of hot sauce. Do I get to eat these?
Of course. So this is
that's nice.
Chipotle's, but it's got a little bit of heat because most Chipotle hot sauce.
That's nice.
It's not hot; it's just sauce.
This
right?
is nice.
So I like this. This is good on breakfast burritos, anything eggs, breakfast. I also put this on sandwiches.
This is nice.
You can add a real smoky thing to like a hero sandwich, pastrami sandwich. It's really, really good.
What was that you were just doing again with it?
What?
I know you're making a funny motion with it. I don't know. I liked it.
I like it.
Okay.
I like you. Here we go. This one's called Extreme Gangster Heat. People who love this primarily have over 50 to 60 tattoos.
Lay it on me.
Now, this is sort of medium heat.
All right. Now, is the last one going to be like scary hot?
Not scary hot, but hot.
I really like the flavor of the Chipotle. Now, what kind of pepper are we talking for the gangster?
This is more habanero, red jalapeno.
Okay.
It's your everyday hot sauce.
Oh, that's nice. Wow. They all have a very distinct flavor, which I appreciate.
Yeah, they're good. This I like. The guy who made these passed away recently, which is really sad.
Oh.
But he would do batches and we would talk about it. And I just think this, for him, this was his like signature. No, he has a signature specialty hot sauce, but
This is really good.
But that one's great. And it's like, it's Tabasco
Classic.
done right.
It's classic.
Yeah.
This is, wow.
Now, this one is called fucking intense ghost pepper type shit hot sauce.
I really like these two a lot.
Isn't it cool that I have my own line of these foods that are so good?
It
It's
is.
totally awesome.
It is.
So this is a seriously hot sauce, but it's not a gimmick. So it has real flavor to it. Ghost pepper is something that most people have never really tasted the taste.
Yeah.
Because they use it to be really hot.
Yeah.
And to kind of make like, so unless you put sweetness in it, usually, which then you can't taste the ghost pepper. Usually, this is so hot that you can't taste the flavor.
So
here
am I expecting to taste the flavor or to be very hot? Or both?
You'll taste the flavor.
Okay.
I think that's plenty.
Oh, God. All right.
But I'm going to do the real thing also.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, that's
Let's
a lot.
Good
That's
flavor,
definitely
right?
hot. Yep.
Now it's about to get really hot.
And there's definitely like later it coats your tongue.
Yeah. That's a sneak attack. And that's what ghost pepper is. It's a very, very flavorful sauce, but it is
and then
really
it sneaks
hot.
up on you
it's
at the end.
Really hot. So it's good. Now, see? It's like, you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good.
I want to get some eggs and put all of these on there.
Yeah. This is great. A little bit goes a long way. I like this on pasta.
Nice. I like this
macaroni and cheese. Amazing.
I like the way that this kind of makes your whole sinuses open up.
It does.
I want to go back for more. Have you ever mixed the peanut butter and the hot sauce?
No. You're welcome to.
All right. I guess, just because I don't want the podcast to end. I guess we'll end it with this. TJ, where can people find you? Where can they find the hot sauce?
Hot sauce and peanut butter. It's on my website. TJ Miller does not have a website.com. But you can get on Amazon.com. That's the easiest way. And then Instagram, it's Teenage Millionaire. It's very hot. Teenage Millionaire, not TJ Miller on YouTube, TikTok. You can use Google, but you should be using DuckDuckGo. They don't steal your information.
Where? So this is all on Amazon.
Yeah.
Now.
And then my tour dates are all on TJ Miller does not have a website.com. And also, we didn't really talk about the my album, Smooth Peanut Butter.
Is that what it's called?
It's called
Smooth
Smooth
Peanut
Peanut
Butter.
Butter.
Tomorrow, which is not tomorrow for them.
It came out February
That's what
20th.
It's called?
Smooth Peanut Butter. And it's because I have a joke about smooth peanut butter.
You don't like smooth peanut butter?
I think that people who only eat smooth peanut butter are not prepared for the challenges they're going to face in their life.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I feel that.
But it's all of the stuff from Dear Jonah that's not really on the special. Some of it, but it's a lot of improvised stuff. It's a lot of that type of thing.
Wow.
So it's really, really, it's great. And I'm really excited about it. It's the first independent album I've done. Did with 800 Pound Gorilla. They're the best comedy label.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very excited about
it.
And you can get it everywhere. iTunes.
It's so funny. I'm really
Apple Music is what I meant to say. Spotify.
I really like listening to comedy albums. Like I know that
I do too.
I either like being in the room or listening. I know that it's like YouTube. People like YouTube videos, and I like it too. But I love just like driving and listening to it.
I feel the exact same way.
I did get off at the wrong exit because I was listening to that the mashup one though.
Oh,
I
nice.
did.
That means it's good.
It was, but then I was like, God, I'm gonna be late. So yeah. All right. Should I combine them or is that pushing it?
It's up to you.
I mean,
no one's ever done it before.
Okay, I want to be the first to do something. I'm gonna combine my favorite of the two. My favorite of the peanut butter is the toffee crispy. My favorite is TJ's choice of this.
Of Extreme Gangster Heat.
Oh, and the tarot cards got the heat as well.
This truly was a house of cups.
It was. I'm always
so funny. You're amazing.
Discombobulated. Wow. Pretty good.
You like it?
Yeah.
Now I feel like I have to try it.
You know what I like about it? There's a depth of flavor.
Really?
Yes. You could use it.
I didn't know how you felt about it. That's really interesting.
It is, yeah.
It's definitely not bad.
No, it's a depth of flavor.
Wow, what would you put that on?
Bread.
You could make a peanut butter hot sauce sandwich. You know what? If that ever happens, you know what we call that? The Natalie.
Yes.
Forget the Cuomo. The Natalie.
The Natalie. Well, thank you, TJ. Thank you for being here. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Smooth Peanut Butter out now.